been feeling like the PT logo in the crosshair scope because of my promo. But really, it's because of my...
Only in Chicago, a black man can't be a regular man. We have to be everything but a godly man. Because if you be anything besides what they expect you to be, you're weak. They judge you.
Nobody comes through here to basically see if you're okay, all right, if you're living or you're dead.
Homelessness, gang violence, all taking place in Chicago. You think we really have time for an immigrant crisis too? Well, we'll talk about all of that right after a word from our sponsor.
Crime across the country is at an all-time high. Even a family road trip is taking a risk. We don't want the feeling of being unprotected and vulnerable. We found concealed411.com. Concealed411.com gave us the help we needed to legally apply for a concealed carry permit that's recognized in over half of the country. Concealed411.com simplifies the process to apply, and it's all online. We used their free qualification process to answer a few questions and applied for our permit right from home. Thanks to reciprocity laws between states, when you're issued a New Hampshire concealed carry permit, you can legally carry in any state that recognizes your New Hampshire permit. It only takes minutes to apply, so don't wait. Exercise your rights today. Have peace of mind. Apply today. Go to www.concealed411.com. That's www.concealed411.com.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, Chicago mayor. I know some people want to instantaneously blame him, but don't forget he's also working under what happened when Miss Lightfoot was in power. So let's talk a couple of things here. We know there's an issue going on right now in Chicago when it comes to the immigrant crisis. They've taken in people, and not only have they taken in people, they've taken in people at the expense of current residents of the city of Chicago. So I started off by telling you about gang violence and homelessness that's running rampant right now. They're rivaling many states that have a higher per capita murder rate right now in Chicago. They're rivaling them. It's almost like we're on a competition level to see who can kill the most people and can see who has the most homeless. So my question is, do they really have the opening, the options, the time to deal with an even bigger crisis in immigration? Now, what are the benefits to that? None. There are no benefits to bringing illegal immigrants into a city that's already struggling to try and house them, feed them, and support them. There is no upside. The downside is exponential. Because here's the problem. What happens when you bring more people into an already struggling environment? You create more struggle. You create more violence. You create more problems. It is no different than you having a home with no money and acquiring something else that requires more money. It doesn't bring more money to help take care of itself. You now have to stretch a dollar thinner than it can ever go and still expect to breathe. It's not going to happen. So how do you solve this problem? Now, there are many ways you can look at this and say, well, we still got to be able to take care of these people and take care of the city of Chicago. First come, first serve. How about that? The city of Chicago had residents long before the immigrants showed up. And they have been clamoring for assistance for I don't know how long. They've been clamoring for help. They've been clamoring for reform. They've been clamoring for the end to the violence that's in the city. Meanwhile, the perpetration of said violence has been done by people with a license to do so. What do I mean by that? If I know I'm not going to go to jail for a certain kind of crime, I'm going to keep doing it. Just look at Washington State. No, what's Washington State? Look at Washington. They have notoriously been known to be corrupt. Have they stopped? No. Why would they? They're not getting in any trouble. In fact, they're going to keep doing it. So keep doing something, if especially you have no repercussions for it. This is Chicago. I know that many of the residents hate the amount of violence that happens because they are the victims of it. Meanwhile, your lawmakers are the ones putting in place things to keep you scared. Because if they can keep you scared but keep you promised, you keep voting. They've gone one step a little too far, however, in this particular situation. They've now brought in people who have no interest in the city of Chicago. They have no vested interest in the city of Chicago. They've never put any boots on the ground in Chicago, but still they're reaping all the benefits from the people in Chicago. How is that fair? It's only going to make things worse. Why? You have now taken what little resources you could put to end the gang violence, the drugs, and the homelessness, and now dedicated it to people who will not do a single thing to help the residents there. In fact, I would say, this is just my opinion now, I would say they are going to make Chicago worse, exponentially worse. There'll be more violence because people are going to feel more desperate and they're going to feel more neglected. So now the ones that were law-abiding, what reason would they have to abide by the law? You tell me. They have been law-abiding for how long now and hoping for help, and you bring people who already broke the law to a place where lawlessness abounds, and you want me to follow the law while they're thriving from it? So if I'm thriving from breaking the law, why am I abiding by it? Why would I put myself in the position to be a good person when you are rewarding vile, evil behavior? You're going to see more people think like that. And if you think that way now, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, Chicago will not be recognizable. In fact, I would even go on a limb by saying it might end up looking like a third world country. Some places already do. I get that. We were talking about as a whole, it'll end up looking like that. So does the mayor have a choice in this? Is he just working with the hand he was given? Does he have a say? He's already spoken about it being a sanctuary city, so he kind of has put himself behind the 8 ball already. He's been questioned about it by townspeople, and he's pretty much done nothing so far. So in some ways, I'm sure he has a say, but is his hands tied? Does he know something we don't? Is there something being held over his head? Or are we just stuck looking at what's coming down the pike and have no recourse? Well, there was somebody that came to talk to us about that exact same problem. And he will be with us and he'll be having a conversation, he's a former gang member. And his name is Shawn Childs. And I think what you'll have is a very good conversation about what actually is happening on the ground versus what we see on the news. So we could get some clarification about what exactly is happening and not happening in Chicago. But from the outside looking in, I can tell you this much. You cannot build a house with poor materials and horrible workers. And that's exactly what Chicago is doing. They say they want to build a house, and none of the people building have any experience in building a proper home. And they also have nothing invested in this home, so they have no reason to do it well. It's about the money. So join us for that conversation. And if you do live in Chicago, I do hope that some relief comes your way when it comes to this situation, because this is not going to work out well for you or for the people that are planning to come and be a part of Chicago's actual nature legally. It's only going to go downhill. You have one option, though. Well, maybe two. But the biggest one is knowing better how to vote next time. Those are your real and only true option you got. And like I've said before, people of Chicago, if you say you're as resilient as you say you are, and you really are that way, let me see if you're about it.